Hello, this is Craig from bitsbox.co.uk. In this video we are looking at Codex Imperial Agents. So, what this is a collection of the smaller parts of the Imperium. So things like Assassins, Deathwatch, Grey Knights, Inquisitorial, Warbands, etc. And of course the ADEPTUS sororitas are also in here, or Sisters of Battle. The book's hardback, so unlike the Traitor Legion book that we looked through in the last few videos, this is actually in hardback. This is a Codex, not a Codex supplement as well, but it feels a lot more like a Codex supplement. So it's an interesting book, and the factions inside, apart from the ADEPTUS sororitas, although they do apply for this as well, but the different armies inside, they're all basically meant for, to be allies. So their force org charts are different from the normal combined arms detachment, and different from the regular ally chart as well. Some of them may only include like just a troops choice or elite choice, etc. So if you're playing Space Marines, Astra Militarum, and you just want to include maybe a squad of Deathwatch, this lets you just do that. And why the ADEPTUS sororitas are different is because you can also play them as a standalone army, which is interesting because there's been rumours that they're going to get their own codex, and they still might, but it would just seem weird that they'd get that so shortly after this. So this could be the way to play them, possibly. I don't know. I'm just speculating. GW might have a bigger plan for them. This could just be a way to use the existing stuff, and there won't be a completely new book coming for the rumoured new stuff, if we do see them, of course. But I'm not going to speculate too much into the future. I'm going to focus on what we do have, and that is Codex Imperial Agents. So I'll open it up, and I hope you guys can see okay. There's a little bit of reflection from the cover, but once the book's open it's not too bad. Now I'm going to do this review differently to the previous reviews. I'm not going to go into too much detail on everything, but things like unique formations, artifacts, warlord traits, etc. I will look at, but I won't look at each individual unit individually, because as far as I'm aware, most of them are virtually the same. There's a lot of fluff at the beginning, so we'll have a quick flick through that. So we've got the hierarchy of the Adeptus Mechanicus there, all the way from the Omnissiah to the Imperial Knights. So lots and lots of fluff of all the different factions that we expect to see in here. And it does include Legion of the Damned as well. So a lot of this artwork is probably familiar with people who've been in the hobby for a little while. And of course lots of pictures and miniatures. Okay, so a little bit about data sheets and what to expect. So these are all the different forces, and I won't list them off here because we're going to see them anyway. A little bit about war gear. Again, I won't go into too much detail. Most of them are, as far as I'm aware, are pretty much similar to what you've already got available. So we'll start off with, we have Forces of the Cult Mechanicus. So they are a compulsory HQ choice and an optional elite choice. The HQ unit chosen as detachment must be a tech-free engineer, and the elite unit chosen must be a unit of servitors. All units from this detachment must have the Cult Mechanicus faction, and they have a command benefit. They have the Canticles of the Omnissiah special rule, and that is in here. And I believe that's exactly the same as for Cult Mechanicus one, so I won't go into too much details. So we have the Tech Priest engines here. And here we have a squad of servitors. So that's essentially what that faction is. It's just servitors with that Tech Priest. And then they have their canticles here. Next we have AERONAUTICA Imperialis. So it's a compulsory fast attack choice and an optional HQ choice. And the command benefit is you may reroll failed reserve rolls. It's interesting because you get an officer of the fleet, fair enough, he's only 20 points. And then you can take Valkyries. So this gives you the option of taking Valkyries in a Space Marine army if you really want to. If there's an option here to take Vendettas, I know they're not as good as they used to be. But that would probably be better, I'd probably see more views for it. But taking a Valkyrie, maybe. But I personally don't see much of a use for it, but I could be completely wrong. A little bit of an appendix here as well for them. So I've just got the Hellstrike missiles and the rocket pod. Next we have the ADEPTUS, ASTRA, TELEPATHICA. So they are a compulsory HQ choice and with an optional of 1 to 3 elites unit, and their restrictions, they must have the ASTRA TELEPATHICA faction, which is this stuff. So the Primaris Psyker or Astropath from this detachment harnesses warp charge points on a result of 3+ when attempting to manifest psychic powers within 12 inches of 5 or more Weird Vein Psykers from the same division. So we can take a Primaris Psyker or an Astropath or Weird Vein Psykers, as you guys probably would have guessed from that description. So if you add some of these Psykers to your Space Marine army or any other army in the Imperium, then that's the option for them. So onto probably the maybe the most exciting part of this book, the Adeptus Sororitas. So you can take them as a little ally force with a compulsory HQ and 1 elite choice. However, the HQ unit must be a Ministorum Priest, and all units must have the Adeptus Sororitas faction. All units from the attachment have the Shield of Faith special rule. Look at that later on. However, you can take them as a standalone army, and they do have a Force Org. It's a basic Force Org, except one of your elite choices is compulsory, as well as your HQ and 2 troops. So their command benefit is once per game, at the start of your turns, you can declare that the units in this detachment will pray for salvation. If you do so, then all units from this detachment can reroll any saving throws of 1 until the start of your next turn. So that's a nice little command benefit, really, makes them a little bit more survivable. And they can reroll warlord traits. Shocking. So they've got a little bit of a war gear list. They do have relics, and we will look at the relics in detail. So the units are the Canoness and the Ministorum Priest. Very outdated looking model there. So Uriah Jacopus is in here. And then you've got your standard Battle Sisters squad. Then there's the Repentia squad and the Command squad. Again, I'm not going to go into any details on these. I'm not sure if they've changed much from what was available before for them. And the same with these other guys. You've got the Arco Flagellants, the Crusaders. I am quite a fan of the Crusaders. They come in a squad of 2, but you can have up to 8 of them for 15 points each. Not a bad little squad, to be honest. They have a Power Sword and Storm Shield. So that's, for 15 points, that's pretty good. Death Cult Assassins are in here as well. And then we have the Celestin squads. Then we have a Dominion squad. And there's a Seraphim squad. And just to point out as well, they all have their Act of Faith, so we will look into them as well. I won't go over what each Act of Faith is for each squad, but it's different for each unit. I'm not 100% sure what the Sisters of Battle or the Adeptus Sororitas rules were in the previous edition of the rules they had. So I can't really compare, see if anything here is new. They've got a Rhino, an Immolator, the Retributors, and the Exorcist. But as far as I know, most of the squads are the same, and they've had a few other sort of Inquisition things added to them. And the Penitent engines are here as well. So they do have, they have one formation, and it doesn't actually include any Sisters of Battle in it, which is a bit unfortunate. Here's a Ministorum Priest or Uriah Jacobus, and then 3 to 10 units in any combination from the following list: Archoflagellants, Crusaders, and Death Cult Assassins, and they get the Shield of Faith rule. So it's essentially a way of giving these other units a Shield of Faith rule. So we'll look through their Warlord traits. So number 1, the Warlord has Fear, so everyone will want that, I'm sure. Not. Number 2, the Warlord and all models in the Warlord's unit have the Shield of Faith special rule have a 5+ Invuln save, so that's quite nice. The Warlord unit rerolls unsuccessful deny for witch rolls. The Warlord has the Rage special rule. All friendly models that are within 12 inches of the Warlord uses the Warlord's leadership value when taking Act of Faith or War Hymns leadership tests, unless their own is higher. And all friendly models within 12 inches of Warlord have the Stubborn special rule. So not a bad Warlord traits table, but it's not the best either. So a little bit about Shield of Faith as well. Models with the Shield of Faith special rule have a 6+ Invuln save and Adamantium Will. So that's quite nice. There's also the Martyrdom special rule. If a model with the Martyrdom special rule is your Warlord, and that model is removed as a casualty during the battle, all friendly units wholly comprised of models with the Act of Faith special rule automatically pass all leadership tests until the end of next turn. So, and that brings us nicely into the Act of Faith rule. I don't believe this is new, but I will read it anyway. So some units are noted as having an Act of Faith special rule in their entry. Different units have different Acts of Faith, each of which is named in the unit's entry along with the specific rules it bestows when used. But all Acts of Faith use the rules listed here. A unit with the Act of Faith special rule can attempt to use its Act of Faith immediately before it acts during a phase, i.e. before it moves in a movement phase, shoots or runs in the shooting phase, etc. To do so, the unit must take a leadership test. If the test is failed, nothing happens and that unit cannot attempt to use that Act of Faith again for the rest of the battle. So that's a bit of a shame. If the test is passed, however, the Act of Faith is successful. Unless stated otherwise, all models in the unit will immediately gain a special rule until the end of the current turn. The special rule gained will be listed in the unit's Act of Faith entry, along with which phase the Act of Faith can be attempted in. Unless stated otherwise, a unit can only attempt to use an Act of Faith once per game, and a unit cannot attempt to use more than one Act of Faith in the same phase. So I'll just silence my phone. I do apologise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a random unit and we will look at an Act of Faith. Okay, so I've just come onto the Celestin squad. So their Act of Faith is Hand of the Emperor. This Act of Faith is used in a friendly assault phase. If successful, all models in the unit gain the Furious Charge special rule. So basically they're little things like that, and then we'll look at another one. Let's look at the Command Squad. Okay. This Act of Faith can be used in your assault phase. If successful, all models in the unit gain Fleet, Crusader, and Move Through Cover special rules. The Repentia one's quite nice actually. You use it in either assault phase and it gives them Feel No Pain 3+, so that's quite nice. And they got Leadership 9 as well, so there's some high leadership in this army as well, which is nice. So it's just a little bit of their war gear, just their unique stuff. And there are relics and technical objectives. I won't really look at the technical objectives because they're not the most exciting thing. I want to try and keep this video short, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to read through their relics. So they're for Litanies of Faith. For the Bearer's unit and any independent character that has joined the Bearer's unit automatically pass any leadership test required when attempting to use either an Act of Faith or a War Hymn. Then they have the Cloak of Aspera. So this is done like the old way as well, so all the points values for these are actually listed in the war gear. Ugh. So the Litanies were 15 points. This cloak is 20 points. You reroll all fail armor saving throws and shield of faith invulnerable saving throws. That's actually really nice. 20 points. That's pretty good actually. The Mace of Valan. So it's +2 strength, AP4, melee, Chaos Bane, concussive, and mastercrafted. So Chaos Bane, you gain the Flesh Bane and Armor Bane special rules when the wielder is within 6 inches of one or more models with a demon special rule. That is the Mace of Valan. That's 25 points. Next we have the Mantle of Ophelia. It gives you Eternal Warrior. And that's 25 points. The Blade of Abomination is +2 strength, AP3, mastercrafted. And then flick back again. That's 30 points. That's quite a bit actually. The Book of St. Lucius. All friendly units within 12 inches of bearer automatically pass any fear or regroup tests. And that's 5 points. And then the Sacred Banner of the Order Militant. All friendly units within 12 inches of a bearer have +1 attack and reroll any failed morale, fear, and penance tests. And yeah, I would rather have that. And that is maybe listed in the individual unit entry. That's probably for the command squad, I should imagine. That's 40 points. Okay. So next we have the Deathwatch. And you can take a single troops choice. And that is your veteran squad essentially. You've got your little war gear there. Got your veteran squad. They do have a command benefit. Non-vehicle models from this detachment can reroll any to wound rolls and armor pen rolls of 1. So that's actually quite nice. If you just fancy taking a Deathwatch squad in with your Space Marine squad, then you know, this lets you do that, and you get a nice little boost as well. So they're pretty much exactly the same as they are in the Codex. I think they're identical. And you can also take the Corvus Blackstar as a dedicated transport. There's just a little bit of appendix. There's mission tactics as well. I don't know if anything here listed about them. So, the mission tactics special rule represents the unique way in which Deathwatch go to war. At the start of your first turn, pick one of the mission tactics below. It will remain active for the entire battle unless you decide to change it as described below. So, I can't even remember if this is in their codex or not. I would assume it is. So it does still apply. So you've got the 4 tactics. Whenever a unit with mission tactics special rule targets an enemy troops unit, you can reroll any failed hit rolls of 1, which would be quite nice for their reroll wounds as well. You've got Venator tactics. And that lets you reroll. Alright, so yeah, this is against. So you got 1 against troops, you got 1 against fast attack, 1 against elites. So they all do exactly the same thing. So they let you reroll hit rolls of 1, just against different types of units. So there is something similar to that in the book, I believe. So you may wish to reroll hit rolls of 1s against troops or fast attacks, elites, etc. So I hope that's clear enough. And there's their armory there with all their weapons in there as well. So that's quite nice. And you've got nice little pictures of different bolter shells. It's quite cool. So next we actually have a section for Grey Knights. So this basically just includes the unique units from the Grey Knights. So that's their Strike Squad Terminators and the Nemesis Dread Knight. If you wish to take them, you have to take a troop choice and a fast attack choice, and you have an optional heavy support. Instead of making reserves roll from the start of your turn 2, you can make reserve rolls for any unit in this detachment that is placed in Deep Strike Reserve from the start of your turn 1. These units will arrive from Deep Strike Reserve on turn 1 on the roll of 3+. In addition, all units from this detachment can both run and shoot in any order in the same turn that they arrive from Deep Strike. So we have a Terminator squad. There's an Interceptor squad, so that's the squad we get. They are your fast attack choice. And then there's the Dread Knight. So they're the 3 units that we get, and we also get Land Raiders as well. So 3 types of Land Raiders are there. And then there's just a little bit about Grey Knights, and the Santic Discipline is also in here as well. And then there's just a little bit of their war gear. So next we have the Legion of the Damned. So it's a compulsory elites choice with 1 to 3 elites, and it is just a Legion of the Damned squad, exactly the same as in the Space Marine Codex. With this book existing, maybe, well, I would say maybe we wouldn't see him in the future Space Marine Codex, but the way rumours are going, there might not even be a future Space Marine Codex, who knows. So all units in this detachment begin the game in Deep Strike Reserve. You can choose to automatically pass or fail any reserve rolls you make for this unit in this detachment. There is no need to roll, so they can essentially just Deep Strike in whenever you want. So that's quite nice. I believe they might just be able to do that in the Space Marine book. This really just gives you an option to take them in with Astra Militarum or any other faction from Space Marine. So you might be running Grey Knights or Deathwatch and you want some Legion of the Damned. Why not? You can just bring them in there. So I quite like that, actually. So next we have the Assassins. So, you essentially can just bring 1 assassin, because they're all a single elite choice. If a mission you are playing uses victory points, you receive 1 bonus victory point at the end of the game if the enemy's warlord was removed as a casualty as a result of a wound inflicted by a model with this special rule. So essentially, it's an extra victory point if your assassin assassinates the warlord. It's quite nice, quite fluffy. So we have the Vindicare, the Calidus, the Eversaw, and the Calexis. And then the Execution Force formation is in here as well. If the mission you're playing uses victory points, you receive 1 bonus victory point at the end of your game. Okay, it was exactly the same. It's exactly the same rule as what we had before. It's just lets you take all 4 assassins. And there's a little appendix. And then it's just a war gear for each different type of assassin. I won't go into details with these. All these are, as far as I'm aware, exactly the same as what's already available to them. So next we have the Inquisition. So a compulsory HQ with an optional 1 to 3 elites. You may pick 1 Inquisitor. This can be a unique Inquisitor from this detachment to generate and use a warlord trait, even if they are not your army's warlord. For the purposes of this warlord trait, this Inquisitor is considered to be your warlord. So, for example, if you take a warlord trait that affects a warlord, that infects your Inquisitor, essentially. So they have a little war gear list, and they do have 3 relics as well, and we'll take a look at them in a little while. So you've got Courtiers, and Karamazov. Oh, that's a tongue twister, that one. The guy in the seat, that's what we'll call him. I remember that big clunky metal model. And then you have the Audio Amalis Inquisitor, the Herectus Inquisitor, and the Ordo Xenos Inquisitor. Then we also have Acolytes, Demon Host, for Jokero Weaponsmith, and a Chimera, and then there's a Henchman Warband, which is a formation. Interestingly, I don't actually see Crusaders unless they're an upgrade for. I'm not sure if they're an upgrade for the Acolytes, are they? Because the Mystics. The Acolytes can be upgraded to Mystics. So, anyway, in the formation, you have to have 1 Inquisitor of any type, which can include the unique ones. Then it's 1 unit of Acolytes. Then it's 0 to 1 of the Ministorum Priests, so you can take them as well. 0 to 1 of Crusaders. 0 to 6 Demon Hosts. 0 to 1 Argo Flagellants. 0 to 1 Death Cult Assassins. So you can still take these units in this faction, as long as you take this formation. 0 to 1 Tech Priest Engines here as well. Then 0 to 6 Jokero Weaponsmiths and 0 to 1 Astropaths. And there's a little note by all these, apart from the Acolytes, that says these units must form a single unit with this formation's unit of Acolytes. So essentially this is how this formation basically gives you the old way of making a mixed squad of all the different inquisitorial henchmen, essentially. So I don't believe there's a way to take the Crusaders and Argo-Flagellants separately in here, unless it's listed somewhere. I don't actually believe it is. That's quite interesting, actually. Okay, so they do have some special rules. They have the authority of the Inquisition. That is essentially the warlord trait thing again. So the Inquisitor in here can use a warlord trait. This formation's Inquisitor may have requisitioned additional support from one of the Chamber's militant, according to the order they hail from. So, for example, if you have an Ordo Malus Inquisitor or Courtiers, you may also include a Grey Knight Terminator squad in this formation. Ordo Herectus Inquisitor or Karamazov may also include Adeptus Sororitas Battle Sisters, and an Ordo Xenos Inquisitor may also include a unit of Deathwatch veterans. So that's quite nice as well. But apart from the warlord trait thing, there is no other really benefit for them. So they have 3 different warlord trait tables. One for the Ordo Malleus, one for the Herectus, and one for the Xenos. Now, the first 3 results are all the same. They have the warlord can choose to pass or fail any morale checks they are called upon to make. Whilst the warlord is alive, you can roll 2 dice and choose a result you want when rolling for reserves, outflank, mysterious terrain, or mysterious objectives. Once per game, your warlord can call down an orbital attack in his shooting phase. This counts as firing a ranged weapon with a profile below. So that's actually an orbital bombardment. That is actually that is basically you get the orbital bombardment special roll. That's pretty cool. That's probably one I'd like to get. So for the Malus, their other 3 warlord traits are Demon Hunter. You have the warlord and his unit have preferred enemy against demons. You are incorruptible. All units with a demon special rule within 12 inches of warlord suffer a -1 penalty to their invuln save, which is really nice actually. Number 6 is Forbidden Law. If a warlord is a psyker, he generates 1 additional warp charge point in each of his turns. If the warlord is not a psyker, he has Adamantium Will. So next for the Herectus, you have Witch Hunter. That gives you preferred enemy against psykers. Then there's Will of Iron, what gives you Adamantium Will. And Master of Interrogation. Enemy infiltrators cannot set up within 24 inches of the warlord. And then for the Xenos, you have Xenos Hunter. That gives you preferred enemy against non-vehicle units from the Xenos armies, essentially. And it is listed here as Dark Eldar, Harlequins, Necrons, Orcs, Tau, Tyranids, and Genestealer cults. And then you have Xenotech Collector, which gives you a 6+ invuln save. And also, one of your ranged weapons gains 1+ strength and the Rending special rule. That's really nice. And then there's Purity of Mankind. The warlord and his unit have the Hatred special rule. And then we just have a little bit on their melee weapons and their armour and vehicle equipment. And then you've got the ranged weapons and the special issue war gear. And there's a whole bit for Psychotrope grenades as well. And we've got rad grenades as well. So these are the same as we've seen in previous publications. And the relics may also be the same, but I'm not 100%. But I will read them out anyway. So there's only 3. There's the Liber Heresius. At the start of any friendly turn, the bearer can take a leadership test. If the test is failed, nothing happens, but if the test is passed, choose one of the special rules from the list below. The bearer of the Liber Heresius, and his unit gain the special rule until the start of their next turn. The same special rule can not be gained in this way more than once per game. You must choose a different special rule each time. And there's Scout, but you can actually choose to use this before the game starts. Split Fire, Counterattack, Fear, and Hatred. Then we have the Grimoire of True Names. When the bearer is fighting a challenge against a model with a demon special rule, his opponent suffers a -5 penalty to his weapon skill, initiative, and leadership characteristics to a minimum of 1. And then there's the Tome of Veverick. If your opponent's army contains any units from a faction shown in the table below, the bearer of the Tome of Veverick gains the corresponding special rule. For example, if your opponent's army included units with the Eldar faction and others with the Tau Empire faction, the bearer would still have both the Furious Charge and Split Fire special rules. So, against Dark Eldar you get Night Vision. Against Eldar or Harlequins you get Split Fire. Against Orcs you have Counterattack. Against Necron you have Tank Hunters. Against Tau Empire you have Furious Charge. And against Tyranids or Genestealer Cults you get Monster Hunter special rule. And that is the end of the book. So, not as a meaty review as the Traitor Legion's book. I'll just be repeating a lot of stuff that if you already play these factions, then you'll know a lot of these rules. It's just essentially a book, just throwing them all together, adding in a couple of formations and things like that. But it does give you a different way to take them, so you don't have to be pure Inquisition or pure Sisters of Battle, pure Deathwatch, etc. So you can just alloy them in just a single unit if you wish. And I think with the alloy system it's always been something that's been quite sort of gives you this option, and I'm glad they've sort of done a book with it. Maybe I know there's a lot of rumours on an edition change, so there might not be any future things like this, but I'd like to see more things where you could alloy in, maybe like the crew example, and things like that. And maybe even like one where you could alloy in just a small bit of Genestealer Cult to your Tyranids or something, you know, but similar to how this is done. But I guess the Xenos don't have enough different factions for that to really make it into one book. But yeah, an interesting book. I don't really know what to say on it, really. It's there's nothing that's really overexciting in here, and I'm sure there's probably some good combinations and maybe a few things that are quite useful, but I'm no expert on really the Imperial, the minor Imperial factions, shall we call them. Notice that we have some Sisters of Battle in a hardback book. It's not their own codex, and whether we get that or not remains to be seen. But in the meantime, here is a way to play them as a full army. Obviously they don't have a load of formations and that, so there's still scope to flesh them out, and maybe we'll see that in the near future. But yeah, if you're like a big Imperium player and you like to mix a few factions about and you like to use your inquisitorial stuff, this is basically a good book for you. Otherwise, it's one for the collection. I can't see myself using it a lot, but whenever a new codex comes out I just buy it anyway, because I'm a bit of a completionist, and when a new edition drops and these are all useless, at least my bookshelf will look nice, right? But yeah, it's still, I'm sure it's only like £25, which is quite good for you to get a lot in there. And yeah, maybe just using the odd squad of Deathwatch here and there with some Space Marines I'd probably certainly do, and maybe even get some Legion of the Damned as well. I've always liked the Legion of the Damned, so being able to use them in like Deathwatch and Grey Knights and stuff like that is pretty cool. And also other Space Marine legions as well. We must not forget Dark Angels, Space Wolves, Blood Angels, etc. can now have, like, someone's messaged me a lot, can now have things like the Legion of the Damned and some Deathwatch in with them. So you know, there's options there. There's things to do. So yeah, if you play an Imperium army, then this could be a useful book if you want to try some different things. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'm sorry it's not as detailed as the last one. I didn't really want to go into like 3 long videos, and I didn't want a big hour-long video. We've already done like 35 minutes, so I think that's long enough. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. We have a bet rep coming out very soon, which we're we're filming over the next day or two. Well, filming this, it'll be like tomorrow, and it'll probably be out the day after. So look out for that. We're going to be using some new stuff from the Traitor Legion book, so very excited. If you want to keep up to date with everything on the channel, you can hit that subscribe button, and if you enjoyed this video, you can hit the like button, and if you have any comments, anything about this book, especially any interest in units or anything that you think is like really cool or really terrible, I'd like to hear your guys' opinions, because I don't have the old stuff to compare with, so someone's probably a bit more of an expert than me. So yeah, that's all that's left to say. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you all in the next video.